Hello, how are you? Are you ready for another little bit of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett? Tonight we are reading chapter 15, Nest Building. Is another longie. Get yourself comfy, get your little snacky snack, get your little drinky drink, and meet me back here in like half of 1 second. After another week of rain, the high arch of blue sky appeared again, and the sun which poured down was quite hot. Though there had been no chance to see either the secret garden or Dickon, Mistress Mary had enjoyed herself very much. The week had not seemed long. She had spent hours of every day with Colin in his room, talking about Rajahs or gardens or Dickon and the cottage on the moor. They'd looked at the splendid books and pictures, and sometimes Mary had read things with Colin. Sometimes he had read a little to her. When he was amused and interested, she thought he scarcely looked like an invalid at all, except that his face was so colourless and he was always on the sofa. You are a sly one. She's gone Scottish. Hang on. You are a sly one to listen and get out of your bed and go following things up like you did that night, Mrs. Medlock said once. But there's no saying he's not been a sort of blessing to the lot of us. He's not had a tantrum or a whining fit since you made friends. The nurse was just going to have to give up on the case because she was so sick of him, but she says she don't mind staying now you've gone on duty with her, laughing a little. In her talks with Colin, Mary had tried to be very cautious about the secret garden. There were certain things she wanted to find out from him, but she felt that she must find them out without asking him direct questions. In the first place, as she began to like to be with him, she wanted to discover whether he was the kind of boy you could tell a secret to. He was not in the least like Dickon, but he was evidently so pleased with the idea of a garden no one knew anything about that she thought perhaps he could be trusted. But she had not known him long enough to be sure. The second thing she wanted to find out was this. If he could be trusted, if he could really be trusted, would it be possible to take him into the garden without having anyone find it out? The Grand Doctor had said that he must have fresh air, and Colin had said that he would not mind fresh air in a secret garden. Perhaps if he had a great deal of fresh air and knew Dickon and the robin and saw things growing, he might not think so much about dying. Mary had seen herself in the glass sometimes lately when she had realised that she looked quite a different creature from the child she had seen when she arrived from India. This child looked nicer. Even Martha had seen a change in her. The air from moor has done thee good already, she had said. Thou'rt not nigh so yeller, and thou'rt not nigh so scrawny. Even the hair don't slamp down on the head so flat. It's got some life in it, so it sticks out a bit. Don't know what that one was. It's like me, said Mary. It's growing stronger and fatter. I'm sure there's more of it. It looks it, for sure, said Martha. I can't do that accent tonight, can I? Said Martha, ruffling it up a little round her face. That not half so ugly when it's that way and there's a bit of red in your cheeks. If gardens and fresh air had been good for her, perhaps they would be good for Colin. But then if he hated people to look at him, perhaps he would not like to see Dickon. Why does it make you angry when you are looked at? She inquired one day. I always hated it, he answered, even when I was very little. Then, when they took me to the seaside and I used to lie in my carriage, everybody used to stare and ladies would stop and talk to my nurse, and then they would begin to whisper, and I knew what they were saying. I shouldn't live to grow up. Then sometimes the ladies would pat my cheeks and say, poor child. Once, when a lady did that, I screamed out loud and bit her hand. She was so frightened she ran away. She thought you'd gone mad like a dog, said Mary. Oh, she thought you'd gone mad like a dog, said Mary. Not at all, admiringly. I don't care what she thought, said Colin, frowning. I wonder why you didn't scream and bite me when I came into your room, said Mary. Then she began to smile slowly. I thought you were a ghost, or a dream, he said. You can't bite a ghost or a dream, and if you scream, dreams don't care. Would you hate it if a boy looked at you? Mary asked uncertainly. He lay back on his cushion and paused thoughtfully. There's one boy, he said quite slowly, as if he were thinking out every word. There's one boy I believe I shouldn't mind. It's that boy who knows where the foxes live. Dickon. I'm sure you wouldn't mind him, said Mary. Well, the birds don't, and other animals don't, he said, still thinking over. Perhaps that's why I shouldn't mind him. He's a sort of animal charmer, and I am a boy animal. Then he laughed, and she laughed too. In fact, it ended in their both laughing a great deal and finding the idea of a boy animal hiding in his hole very funny indeed. What Mary felt afterwards was that she need not fear about Dickon. On that first morning when the sky was blue again, Mary wakened very early. The sun was pouring in, slanting rays through the blinds, and there was something so joyous in the sight of it that she jumped out of bed and ran to the window. She drew up the blinds and opened the window itself, and a great waft of fresh, scented air blew in upon her. The moor was blue, and the whole world looked as if something magic had happened to it. There were tender little fluting sounds here, there, and everywhere, as if scores of birds were beginning to tune up for a concert. Mary put her hand on the window and held it in the sun. It's warm! It's warm! She said. It will make the green points push up and up and up, and it will make the bulbs and roots work and struggle with all their might under the earth. She kneeled down and leaned out of the window as far as she could, breathing big breaths and sniffing the air until she laughed because she remembered what Dickon's mother had said about the end of his nose quivering like a rabbit's. It must be very early, she said. The little clouds are all pink, and I've never seen the sky look like this. No one is up, and I don't even hear the stable boys. A sudden thought made her scramble to her feet. I can't wait! I'm going to see the garden. She had learned to dress herself by this time, and she put on her clothes in 5 minutes. She knew a small side door which she could unbolt herself, and she flew downstairs in her stockinged feet and put on her shoes in the hall. She unchained and unbolted and unlocked, and when the door was open she sprang across the step with one bound, and there she was standing on the grass, which seemed to have turned green, and with the sun pouring down on her in a warm, sweet wafts about her, and the fluting and the twittering and the singing coming from every bush and tree. She clasped her hands for pure joy and looked up in the sky, and it was so blue and pink and pearly and white and flooded with springtime light that she felt she must flute and sing herself. She knew that thrushes and robins and skylarks could not possibly help it. She ran round the shrubs and paths toward the secret garden. It's all different already, she said. The grass is greener, and things are sticking up everywhere, and things are uncurling, and green buds of leaves are showing. This afternoon I'm sure Dickon will come. The long warm rain had done strange things to the herbaceous beds which bordered the wall by the lower wall. There were things sprouting and pushing out from the roots of clumps of plants, and there were actually here and there glimpses of royal purple and yellow unfurling among the stems of crocuses. 6 months before, Mistress Mary would not have seen how the world was waking up, but now she missed nothing. When she had reached the place where the door hid itself under the ivy, she was startled by a curious loud sound. It was the caw of a crow, and it came from the top of the wall, and when she looked up, there sat a big, glossy-plumaged, blue-black bird, looking down at her so very wise indeed. She had never seen a crow this close before, and he made her a little bit nervous, but the next moment he spread his wings and flapped away across the garden. She hoped he was not going to stay inside, and she pushed the door open, wondering if he would. When she got fairly into the garden, she saw that he probably did intend to stay, because he had alighted on a dwarf apple tree, and under the apple tree was lying a little reddish animal with a bushy tail, and both of them were watching the stooping body and rust-red head of Dickon, who was kneeling on the grass working hard. Mary flew across the grass to him. "Oh, Dickon, Dickon!" she cried out. "How could you get here so early? How could you? The sun has only just got up." He got up himself, laughing and glowing and tussled, his eyes like a bit of sky. I were up long before him. How could I stayed in bed? The well's all fair begun again this morning it has, and it's working and humming and scratching and piping and nest building and breathing out scents till you got to be out of bed on it stead of lying on your back. When the sun did jump up, the moor went mad for joy, and I was in midst of heather, and I run like mad myself, shouting and singing, and I come straight here, Mary. I couldn't have stayed away. Why, garden was lying here waiting for us." Mary put her hands on her chest, panting as if she had been running herself. "Oh, Dickon, Dickon, I am so happy I can scarcely breathe." Seeing him talking to a stranger, the little bushy-tailed animal rose from its place under the tree and came to him, and the rook, cawing once, flew down from its branch and settled quietly on his shoulder. "This is Fox Cub," he said, rubbing the little reddish animal's head. "He's named Captain, and this is Soot. Soot, he flew across moor with me, and Captain, he runt same as if hounds had been after him. They both felt same as I did." Neither of the creatures looked as if they were the least afraid of Mary. When Dickon began to walk about, Soot stayed on his shoulder, and Captain trotted quietly close to his side. "See here," said Dickon. "See how these are pushed up, and these, and hey, look at these over here." He threw himself up upon his knees, and Mary went down beside him. They had come upon a whole clump of crocuses burst into purple and orange and gold. Mary bent her face down and kissed them and kissed them. "You never kiss a person in that way," she said when she lifted her head. "Flowers, they are so different." He looked puzzled but smiled. "I kissed me mother a many time that way when I come in from moor after a day's roaming, and she stood there in door in sunshine, looking so glad and comfortable." They ran from one part of the garden to another, and found so many wonders that they were obliged to remind themselves that they must speak in a whisper or low. He showed her swelling leaf buds on rose branches which had seemed dead. He showed her 10,000 new green points pushing through the mould. They put their eager young noses close to the earth, sniffed its warm springtime breathing. They dug and pulled and laughed low with rapture until Mistress Mary's hair was as tumbled as Dickon's, and her cheeks were almost as poppy red as his. There was every joy on earth in that secret garden today, and in the midst of them came a delight more delightful than all, because it was more wonderful. Swiftly, something flew across the wall and darted through the trees to a close-grown corner, a little flare of red-breasted bird with something hanging from its beak. Dickon stood quite still and put his hand on Mary, almost as if they had suddenly found themselves laughing in a church. "We may not stir," he whispered in broad Yorkshire. "We may not scarce breathe. I knowed he was mate hunting when I last seed him. It's Ben Weatherstaff's robin. He's building a nest. He'll stay here if we don't flight him." They settled down softly upon the grass and sat there without moving. "Us mustn't be seem as if us watching him too close. He'd be out with us for good if he got notion of us interfering now. He'll be a good bit different till all this is over. He's setting up an housekeeping. He'll be shyer and readier to take things ill. He's got no time for visiting and gossiping. Us must keep still a bit and try to look as if us was grass and trees and bushes. Then, when he's got used to seeing us, I'll chirp a bit, and he'll know us not being in his way." Mistress Mary was not at all sure that she knew, as Dickon seemed to, how to look like grass or tree or bush. But he had said the strange thing as if it were the simplest and most natural thing in the world, and she felt it must be quite easy for him, and indeed she watched him for a few minutes carefully, wondering if it was possible for him to turn quietly green and put out branches and leaves. But he only sat wonderfully still, and when he spoke he dropped his voice to such a softness that it was curious that she could hear him. But she could. "It's part of springtime, this nest building is. I warrant it's been going on in the same way every year since world begun. They got their way of thinking and doing things, and a body had better not meddle with it. You can lose a friend in springtime easier than any other season if you get too curious, Mary. If we talk about him, I can't help looking at him, Mary said as softly as possible. We must talk of something else. There is something I want to tell you. You'll like it better if us talks of something else. What is it thou's got to tell me? Well, do you know about Colin? She whispered. He turned his head to look at her. What does thou know about him? He asked. I've seen him. I've been to talk to him every day this week. He wants me to come. He says I'm making him forget about being ill and dying, answered Mary. Dickon looked actually relieved as soon as the surprise died away from his round face. I am glad of that, he exclaimed. I'm right down glad of that. It makes me easier. I knowed I must say nothing about him, and I don't like having to hide things from you. Don't you like hiding the garden? Said Mary. I'll never tell about it, but I says to Mother, I says, I got a secret to keep. It's not a bad one, and I knows that. It's no worse than hiding where a bird's nest is. Thou don't mind, do you, Mother? Mary always wanted to hear about Mother. What did she say? She asked, not at all afraid to hear. Dickon grinned sweet-temperedly. It were just like her, what she said, he answered. She gives me head a bit of a rub, and she laughed, and she says, Here, lad, thou can have all secrets thou likes. I've knowed thee 12 year. How did you know about Colin? Asked Mary. Everybody has knowed about Mr. Craven, knowed there were a little lad as was like to be a cripple, and they knowed Mr. Craven didn't like him to be talked about. Folks is sorry for Mr. Craven, 'cause Mrs. Craven were such a pretty young lady, and they was so fond of each other. Mrs. Medlock stops in our cottage whenever she goes to Thwaite, and she don't mind talking to Mother before us children, 'cause she knows us have been brought up to be trusty. How did thou find out about him? Martha were in fine trouble last time she came home. She said tha'd heard him fretting, and I was asking questions, and she didn't know what to say. Mary told him her story about the midnight wuthering of the wind, which had wakened her, and about the faint, far-off sounds of the complaining voice, which had led her down the dark corridors with her candle, and had ended with her opening of the door of the dimly lighted room with the carven four-poster bed in the corner. When she described the small ivory white face with the strange black-rimmed eyes, Dickon shook his head. Them's just like his mother's eyes, only hers was always laughing. They say as Mr. Craven can't bear to see him when he's awake, and it's because of his eyes is so like his mother's, and yet looks so different in his miserable face. Do you think he wants him to die? Whispered Mary. No, but he wishes he weren't been born. Mother, she says the worst thing on earth for a child. Them as is not wanted scarce ever thrives. Mr. Craven, he'd buy anything as money could buy for poor lad, but he'd like to forget he's on earth. For one thing, he's afraid he'll look at him one day and find he's growed hunchback. Colin's so afraid of that himself, and he won't even sit up. He says he's always thinking that he should feel a lump coming, he should go crazy and scream himself to death. He oughtn't allow there thinking things like that. No lad could get well as thought them sort of things. The fox was now lying on the grass close by him, looked up for a pat now and then, and Dickon bent down and rubbed his neck softly and thought a few minutes in silence. Presently he lifted his head and looked round the garden. When we first got in here, it seemed like everything were grey. Look round now and tell me if thou don't notice a difference. Mary looked and caught her breath a little. Why, the grey wall is changing. It's as if a green mist went creeping over it. It's almost like a green gauze veil. Aye, and it'll get greener and greener till all grey's gone. Can thou guess what I'm thinking? I bet it's something nice, said Mary eagerly. I believe it was something about Colin. I were thinking that if he were out here, he wouldn't be watching for lumps grow on his back. He'd be watching for buds breaking on rose bushes, and he'd likely be healthier too. I were wondering if us could ever get him in humour to come out here and lie under trees in his carriage. I've been wondering that myself. I've thought of it almost every time I've talked to him. I've wondered if he could keep a secret, and I've wondered if we could bring him here without anyone seeing us. I thought that perhaps you could push his carriage. The doctor said he must have fresh air, and if he wants us to take him out, then no one dare disobey him. He won't go out for other people, and perhaps they will be glad if he goes out with us. He could order the gardeners to keep away so they won't find out. Dickon was thinking very hard as he scratched Captain's back. It will be good for him. Us'd not be thinking he'd better never been born. Us'd be just two children watching a garden grow, and it'd be another children. Two lads and a little lass just looking on at springtime. I warrant it'd be better than doctor stuff. He's been lying in his room so long, and he's always been so afraid of his back that it's made him a bit strange. He knows a good many things out of books, but he doesn't know anything else. He says he has been too ill to notice things, and he hates going out of doors, and hates gardens, and hates gardeners. But he likes to hear about this garden because it's secret. I daren't tell him much, but he said he wanted to see it. Us'll have him out here sometime for sure. I'd push his carriage well enough. Has thou noticed how Robin and his mate have been working while we've been sitting here? Look at him perched on that branch, wondering where it'd be best to put that twig he's got in beak. He made one of his low, whistling calls, and Robin turned his head and looked at him inquiringly, still holding his twig. Dickon spoke to him as Ben Weatherstaff did, but Dickon's tone was one of friendly advice. Wherever thou puts it, it'll be all right. Thou know how to build a nest before thou came out of the egg. Get on with it, thee lad. Thou's got no time to lose. Oh, I do like to hear ye talk to him, Dickon. Ben Weatherstaff scolds him and makes fun of him, but he hops about and looks as if he understood every word, and I know he likes it. Ben Weatherstaff says he's so conceited he would rather have stones thrown at him than not be noticed. Dickon laughed too and went on talking. Thou knows thou won't trouble, he said to the robin. Us is near being wild things ourselves. Us is nest building too, bless thee. Look out thou don't tell on us. And though the robin didn't answer because his beak was occupied, Mary knew that when he flew away with his twig to his own corner of the garden, the darkness of his dew-bright eye meant that he would not tell their secret for the world. There you go. That was chapter 15. Next chapter, 16. I won't, said Mary. That's the title. What won't she do? I don't know. How have you been? Have you been okay? It's been a couple of days since I've been on here. And look, you can see, because you can see the screen reflected in my glasses, you know it's getting dark. Admittedly, I am a little bit later at the moment, but it's starting to have the night draw in. Oh no, summer's gone. Although, having said that, today has been a really, really nice and warm day. And here we are mid-September. Nice, that's what I think. Today, I've had a bit of an exciting day. I didn't go into work today. I know. Today, it's like an exam kind of thing, except for it lasts a week. You're supposed to kind of keep fine-tuning it all week. An exam for a head teacher qualification. So, people over in America, you have principals, don't you? Like the heads of the school, the leaders of the school. They're head teachers here. Used to be called headmasters or headmistress, not anymore, just head teachers. So today I did my exam for that. So the crazy thing is, though, like I said, we've got a week to do this exam in, and kind of fine-tune it before we send it off. It basically is this really thick and hefty case study of another school, like all these different reports from this school, all of the data from the school, all of the finance printout from the school. Fake school, obviously, is not an actual school. And we have to, like, be the head teacher and kind of sort it out. Go in there and like, right, this is what's going to happen to make the place better. So, yes, we've got a week to do that. So I hand it in next Tuesday. But I don't get the result for 4 months. What's going on? So yeah, that's ages to have to wait, isn't it? So yeah, that's what I've done today, and I thought, no, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to treat myself to a hearty breakfast. So yeah, it's quite nice today. I obviously had the house to myself. I walked down to the shop, bought myself some bits for breakfast, bought myself some bits for lunch. Excuse me, I even brought a little bag of M&Ms. Other chocolatey, peanutty things are available, but yeah, I bought myself a bag of M&Ms as well to have as a little snacky snack. I didn't ever remember to eat them though. I forgot, if I'm honest with you. But also, I had my breakfast. I was stuffed. I thought it was going to give me a bit of oomph and brain power. Just made me want to go to the toilet and fall asleep. Not at the same time. There you go. What else has happened? Nothing much else has happened, really. I'm afraid to tell you. I will tell you this, though. My poor mother, this one goes out to you, Mum. She was walking around the village with my sister the other day, and she fell over some brambles that were like on the path, and she landed on her face and her wrists. She's got now like a all closed up eye. This wrist is all in a cast because she's broken the bone. Clearly, she sent me a picture of it before she had it in the cast, and that was well wonky sticking out, so she had to have the bone put back in and plastered, but they didn't do it right, so she's got to have an operation now to kind of redo it. But she also landed on this arm, and they haven't put that one in a cast. So yeah, poor old gal. I went round and saw her the other day. She was feeling sorry for herself. So yeah, love to mother, love to mother. What else? I haven't really got anything else exciting that I can tell you, I'm afraid. Floyd has started high school now. So I've got 4 children. I forget I've got lots of new people here. Blake is my oldest. He's at university. He's just about to turn 21. Then I've got Phoebe. She works with me at a local school. She is 18. Then I've got Bo. He's 14 at high school. Then I've got Floyd. He is 11, just started high school. So yeah, so all of my children are now out of the primary phase. I'm so old. So there you go. There you go. Anyway, there's a little bit of whiffle waffle. Next time I record, I think I'm going to have to turn the light on, aren't I? Because look, otherwise you're just going to end up seeing a reflection of my glasses, and that doesn't make it very cosy, does it? Hey, if I turn my head sideways, that's better. All right. I love you lots, and I'll see you soon.